why, because this thing dulls in comparison to a lot of as the C-17 prepares for its demonstration. We'll listen into the air boss here. J.D. Ferris, our three pilots working together that's his onboard.
About as loud as you're going to hear this airplane, that and on landing here. Very, very quiet. On the high-speed run-in that we're about to see, I'm telling you, you just have to put yourself down there on the ground. It's a far corner of the world where you would need that Abrams tank or possibly a whole load of Marines or just anybody, really. This airplane can get them there, and it can do it quietly. There's no reason to give the enemy any advanced knowledge of your arrival.
Very true.
They'll know when you land.
And we'll hear that too.
We'll hear that in a few minutes. But watch as this big C-17 whips around out here for a high-speed run-in. And as Rob mentioned, those engines that are on this thing, same engines that are on the big airliner, the 757, they make hardly any noise at all. I mean, really, Rob, just a little bit of air. That's all you'll hear.
And they're very fuel efficient. They can travel over 2,400 miles without any aerial refueling, although they do have that capability to be refueled in midair. But turning it around, you know, Matt, you talked about the stick rather than a yoke. The yokes were necessary in the older airplanes, were they not, to control the huge control surfaces.
Well, that's right. You're talking about overcoming having a mechanical advantage. And airplanes like the B-29 and all those big World War II bombers and cargo planes, they had to have a lot of leverage there to move those controls.
Because they had direct connection via cable or push rod to move those control surfaces.
Cable and pulley. This thing, though, it not only does it have the ability for mechanical redundancy, it also has computer controlled.
4 of them.
That's right.
This crew today has a combined over 14,000 flight hours with 13 deployments in support of combat and humanitarian missions throughout the world. And we'll talk about those humanitarian missions, like a soldier or a U.S. serviceman or woman being hurt and setting up a surgical suite in this airplane, providing care to get that soldier, that airman, or that person, our serviceman or woman, all the way back to a hospital in Europe and then fly them home. Maximum speed of this airplane is 515 miles an hour, coming through at over 350 miles an hour right now. As it approaches this time, we're going to see not how fast it can go, but how slow it can go. And this is, well, they're going to dirty it up, right, Matt?
A dirty pass. Here you go.
Explain dirty.
Aerodynamically dirty. They're going to reduce some drag on this airplane. They'll lower the landing gear. They'll lower the flaps. The leading edge slats will come down. These are long airframe components along the very front part of the wing. They sort of droop down and they change the geometry of the wing. And it actually increases the lift. It slows it down, but it does increase the lift, meaning that this thing can fly a whole lot more slower, which is good. If you want to land on a short strip, you have to be able to fly slowly. So now that the aircraft is configured, here comes the dirty pass for United States Air Force C-17.
You know, another friend of ours at an air show was narrating this, and he said, look at the trailing edge flaps. You see kind of a Venetian blind look. Our buddy Danny Clisham sort of likened it to that, but it does definitely change the shape of the wingboard drive. It's sure flaps.
Just huge. So this is
watch him clean up this thing. Power up, flaps up, slats up, clean it up. It is maneuverable too, isn't it?
It sure is. We're going to see a little bit of that maneuverability right now at this repositioning turn. And then, Rob, on their next run-in, what are we going to expect? This should be the always impressive 360-degree tight turning radius demonstration.
Yes, indeed. As Matt was telling you, it has that stick rather than a yoke because the computers do all the heavy lifting or heavy changing of the control surfaces to make it much more maneuverable. But watch them right there going into about 30 plus degrees, maybe 45 degrees of bank right there as they bring it around for this next pass, which will be a big, well, not so big, actually. A fairly tight circle, actually, Matt, don't you think?
Not bad for maneuvering a city block.
Yeah, it's a big plane.
Well, it's a huge airplane, but like Eric, it likes long walks on the beach. Romantic sunset movies. The C-17, if it could talk, I think it would.
They nicknamed this the Moose. And I didn't know that until this weekend. Of all the times I've seen the C-17, it's the first time I've heard them say Moose. But take a look as it approaches. This airplane has a wingspan of 169 feet 10 inches. It's 174 feet long. It's 55 feet from the bottom of the tires to the top of the tail, and the tail's so big if you need to have a guy climb up inside that tail to do service work, that man or woman can do so. But as it comes by, it'll start its turn, but Matt, what's on the end of the wings?
Well, those big winglets right there, they're about 9 feet tall. So think about this in terms of your living room. From floor to ceiling, those big winglets out there on the edge of the wing, they actually increase the fuel efficiency and help out with the maneuverability, just sort of keeping that.
Just saved billions of dollars in fuel costs over the airplanes that it's been
Oh yeah,
installed
absolutely,
on.
especially when we're seeing over transatlantic and transoceanic flights. When you're way up there in high altitudes, cruising, just like these aircraft are designed to do, it really, really helps. Now you can see it, a whole city block moving through in the sky.
About 225 of these are being flown by the United States Air Force, and another 50 or so by other air arms around the world. I think Canada, the Royal Canadian Air Force, has 3 of them.
Yeah, Qatar has them as well. They have a whole wing of them, if I remember.
And again, as big as it is, only 3 crew members necessary to make it work because of a very advanced cockpit and also a very advanced offload onload capability.
Supplies. Let's talk about this, Rob Ryder, because no matter where they have to go, they can get there, and they can get there quietly, can't they?
They can indeed. Those turbofan engines, as Matt Jolly told you, extremely efficient, extremely quiet. And this airplane, because of the way it's been built, actually is able to land at 6,000 more airfields around the world than its big cousin, the C-5 Galaxy. And it is so maneuverable that on the ground, it only needs a 90-foot wide runway in order to turn it around, but it'll also back up on the ground.
We're going to watch as the C-17 shows you the business end of its operation. That is the short field landing. Let's watch now and just imagine. And it's not hard to do here with the mountains and the high desert back here. Look off into the sun there, and off to the left, you'll see the C-17 setting up here for its final approach.
And as it does, you see the landing lights on. The moment they hit the ground, they're going to hit the thrust reversers. If you've been on an airliner, you've felt the rapid deceleration that happens. You get to see it from the outside now. On the engine nacelles, you will see panels open up just behind the front part of the nacelle. Reverse the thrust of the engine instead of having the gas. Watch the panels. This is about as much noise as this airplane is ever going to make. There's a door open on the side, Matt.
That's right. That's our loadmaster coming out right there in the back. And again, the enemy now knows we're here. They can certainly hear it. The loadmaster serving as the eyes for our crew members up front will help this airplane back up, offload the cargo quickly, and get out of there and back to safety. Because as we've said before, this aircraft, although it is maneuverable, it has no guns, no countermeasures. These folks, these three brave crew members, are all alone delivering these goods. So you have to do it efficiently and quietly, hopefully on an airfield that is secured. Ladies and gentlemen, your United States Air Force C-17 demonstration. What do you think, Rob?
I think it's awesome to see it work. And I think they'll get her turned around and back